I'm out here now to introduce someone that really needs no introduction for those of us that live in Hawaii. And the person, of course, is Connie Lau. And as I was thinking about this, there really were 3 points that I wanted to make to all of you this afternoon. And one of them is that as we look back, it's really remarkable in retrospect that Connie was also the chairman of American Savings Bank during the financial crisis. And we were able to do HCEI and do so many things in 2008, 2009 era. And often we don't think back and realize what was going on. And really it was a terrifying time in the banking industry, and it wasn't clear that all the banks were going to make it. So I just wanted to make a point that often we don't give credit for that. The second thing I wanted to mention is that when you look at the transaction that's proposed between HECO and NextEra, something that we really haven't talked about much is that this is a voluntary dismantling of the holding company system. And when you talk to people that have been critics of Hawaiian Electric in the past, the holding company structure itself was part of the criticism, and the argument being, I guess, that it was adding expense. But I just want to point out again, this is a voluntary dismantling of that holding company system, and that fact really deserves some credit. So before I turn it over to Connie, there really is one other thing I wanted to say, and that has to do with the Energy Conference itself. And last year, we really felt like it was unclear as we got ready for the first Energy Conference, what level of participation was the utility going to have. And it was Connie's personal willingness to come and speak, as far as I'm concerned, that really sealed the deal in essence and sent a signal to the rest of management at Hawaiian Electric to please come and please participate and please be open to answering questions even from critical audience. So I just wanted to say those 3 things and say that in fact we have very much appreciated, I feel like Connie has been a supporter of this conference by her willingness to attend, by how serious she is in listening to these presentations. And anyway, I'm going to step aside and let her speak. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug, and aloha mai kākou. I'm really honored to be your closing speaker again for the 2nd Maui Energy Conference. And I really have to commend Mayor Arakawa and his Office of Economic Development, Maui Economic Development Board, and of course Doug, our wonderful conference chair, and the organizing committee. As Henry Curtis said yesterday, Maui really is energy central, and this event has become the energy conference for Hawaii. As several of us remarked as we arrived Tuesday from Oahu for pre-conference meetings, we were all here to do serious business. And frankly, some of our meetings could just as well have happened on Oahu or on the mainland. But somehow, stepping off the plane, it was different. In fact, somebody called it Oahu on vacation. There were so many of us getting off the plane. But I think it has to do with what Tina said in her welcome, that this conference is designed to be not only thought-provoking around serious energy issues, but also interactive, with lots of opportunities for networking, and the ambiance of beautiful Maui provides the perfect backdrop to do serious business, but in a deeper and heartfelt way. For those of you not from Hawaii, we call it Maui no Ka'oi. Maui is the best. And I hope everyone feels that too. Thank you all, as I've had some of the best quality conversations here at this conference and opportunities to build deeper relationships. I really appreciated what Doug said in his introduction, because frankly, it was Alan Oshima and I who talked last year about, wow, should we come to this energy conference? And when we looked at the agenda, we just said, you know what? We need to be there. We need to be here. It really is time for all of us to engage and to engage not only substantively, but on a much deeper level, because the issues that we face are very important to our community. So my job in these closing remarks is, where do we go from here? And why is Hawaii the best place to do it? Frankly, as I sat down to collect my thoughts on this question, I realized that the answers were all here in the conference, and it's frankly all of the above. First, many speakers have recognized that we are all amazingly aligned in where we want to go, and that's a cleaner energy future for Hawaii. We may disagree on how to get there and how fast we can do it, but there is no one who doesn't agree on the end point. That's a good thing, because as my great friend, navigator Nainoa Thompson says, if you keep your eyes on the horizon and are passionate and committed, you will get there. And I doubt anyone will think that we are not passionate and committed from the spirited and inspired side conversations in every nook and cranny of the MAC. Second, it is clear that Hawaii has a unique opportunity to transform our energy state at a system level. In other words, to transform our entire energy ecosystem. We have only to look around at the attendance at this conference, where not only the utilities are present, but also our regulators, our state and county policymakers, community leaders, our nonprofits, our business owners and independent power producers, large landowners, energy management companies working with large customers, solar companies, wind companies, local biofuel producers, energy efficiency providers, technology companies, startups, you name it. Where else could you get so many and such a diverse set of interested parties together to solve energy issues in a comprehensive and holistic way? To make energy policy, regulation, utility, and other business models come together to work to provide customers increased choice, cleaner energy, and lower bills. I would venture to guess that there's no other community that has the opportunity to demonstrate how to transform a total energy ecosystem. And we can help create a model for community-wide engagement. And as a key player in this energy ecosystem, we are anxious to play our part. Third, we all recognize that much of what Hawaii is trying to do is on the cutting edge of energy transformation in the nation. We already lead in rooftop solar integration. No other state in the union has 12% of their customers enjoying rooftop solar when the national average is 0.5%. And while our engineers have stretched themselves to do it, we haven't done it alone. John Yoshimura of Solar City talked about the collaboration between Hawaiian Electric, Solar City, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Golden, Colorado, and the Electric Power Research Institute to test the capabilities of advanced inverters. It wasn't easy, nor did it always go smoothly among the partners, as you heard, but it did happen. I recall attending many national conferences during this period where the solar industry was telling our electric industry that they had technology that could help us integrate more renewables, and even further, to help make them a grid resource to help us. But no one seemed to be interested, and many of my colleagues were actually gearing up to fight. But this maybe somewhat unlikely collaboration resulted in the remote reprogramming of over 600,000 inverters in Hawaii to help with grid resiliency, a first in the nation, but one which can be replicated elsewhere, and I'm sure will. And as you heard Matt McNeff and Jim Albert say, through this advanced inverter testing, we were able to raise the technical limit relating to transient overvoltage to 250% of the daytime minimum load from 120%. And where do we go from here on this front? More of the same. We need to work together to take advantage of advancing solar and grid technologies to figure out how to truly make rooftop solar a grid resource for the benefit of all. Storage would be next on my list. Just as the cost of solar has come down 70 to 80% in the last 5 years, I believe storage costs are poised to come down the cost curve next. And just as rooftop solar happened first in a big way in Hawaii, if storage is going to happen anywhere, it's going to happen first in Hawaii. So we need to continue to explore storage options, not just for grid stability, but also for load shifting and optimization of renewable resources. And in the storage area, we are just beginning to explore and exploit the possibilities. And they can be proven here in Hawaii and deployed to the benefit of our customers. Here's where there's another clear direction we need to continue to pursue. You heard Alan say yesterday how important technology is to our plans. And you heard Luis Salaverria say how great an opportunity Hawaii has to build an entire energy sector. We have a very exciting technology accelerator here in Hawaii, and it's called Energy Accelerator. We need to do everything we can to support their efforts. I was fortunate enough to be named a C3E ambassador, a clean energy ambassador, last year by the Department of Energy, and met the head of the Midwest Accelerator based in Chicago. Her accelerator is very successful, but she raved about Hawaii's Energy Accelerator and said that she refers companies here because they can demonstrate their projects live in Hawaii, because Hawaii is on the cutting edge of clean energy. And a key in Energy Accelerator's success is that they have focused on real needs in our energy ecosystem, so that the technologies being developed are being developed specifically to address real live and real-time problems. We need to continue to support their efforts. I've been involved for a long time in startups for Hawaii. I worked in Silicon Valley when the valley was just developing. I was on the founding board of the Hawaii Strategic Development Corporation, which sought to leverage public money with private money to invest in new companies in Hawaii. And I can attest that the Energy Accelerator is the best chance I've seen over my many years for Hawaii to help transform our energy industry into an energy sector, as Luis says, with relevance beyond Hawaii. You heard about STEM's project to aggregate and optimize the excess storage of 20 storage units in 20 different buildings to be used as a grid resource. And that's just one of Energy Accelerator's companies. Can you also imagine grid interactive water heaters, devices that plug into regular electric sockets but create an intelligent home in a flash, or rather a stroke of your keyboard on the computer, and so much more? And the ability of those technologies and other providers who can actually do demand response, which several of their companies are working on, need to be supported by regulatory frameworks that allow the utilities to properly compensate providers for such services. As Commissioner Akiba said, we need to expand our thinking of grid resources from just grid-scale power generation to distributed generation and also storage and demand response. There is much work to be done in these areas, but Hawaii will be on the defining edge. It is these resources that can help us realize a future of 100% renewable as a real possibility. And just as incentives were put in place for solar, we must advocate that similar incentives are available to incent storage and demand response investments. We need to continue to pursue the development of additional grid-scale renewable resources. As Eric Gleason said yesterday, Hawaii has world-class renewable resources. I would urge that we continue to engage in discussions on the development of those resources, because we do have an engaged population, and it is very important that those communities that may host these facilities have ample time to express their opinions, participate in the process, and influence decision-making. For our part, we will continue to pursue LNG as a bridge fuel. While a 100% renewable future may be a strong possibility, it will depend on many factors, including the availability of land and technological advances. And we believe it's incumbent on us to seek to diversify our liquid fuel source away from being almost totally dependent on imported oil and reduce our customers' risk exposure to volatile oil prices. Yes, oil prices have come down recently, but as several have noted, we should not rely on a volatile commodity to set public policy and make long-term investments. And as a testament to that volatility, oil prices surged overnight following reports that Saudi Arabia launched airstrikes in Yemen. This raised fears of supply disruptions in the Middle East, causing analysts to say that the turmoil could affect prices in the coming weeks. We must get off imported oil. Additionally, we have an opportunity for even greater change. As our electric system moves aggressively towards renewables, we have an opportunity to green other uses of oil as well, and particularly our transportation sector. Our utilities only burn 1/3 of the oil imported into our state. Transportation, ground, marine, and aviation consumes the remaining 2/3. Much has been said about electric vehicles, and Maui, of course, is home to the famous Jump Smart Maui project, integrating electric transportation and the electric grid. Such efforts need to be supported and continued, as well as the Honolulu Rapid Transit Project on Oahu, which will help contain increases in vehicle miles traveled by substituting mass transit by electrified rail for gas cars. In addition, we must examine other uses, such as the support facilities for transportation, like our ports and airports. As an example, Matson just decided to replace 2 of their old diesel cranes with modern electric cranes for an increase in productivity and functionality as well as cost savings. As another example, I recently flew through Chicago Airport and found that the planes are not allowed to start their engines at the gate. And I know that because they use a mobile starter unit, and my gate didn't have one, so we got delayed. But opportunities in electrifying transportation and other uses as we move to renewables in the electric sector abound. Lastly, as Kelly King noted this morning, we must engage the next generation. It really struck me yesterday when Jeff Michelina showed the photo of the canvassers who helped educate our consumers about the smart grid. As I looked at that photo, it was all young faces. And just as my daughter's generation thinks about disrupting electric utilities, They do so because they can envision a different future where renewables can indeed power our world, and not just Hawaii. So, as Mayor Arakawa and Governor Ige have said, a 100% renewable world is possible. Finally, I think you all would not let me off this podium if I didn't address our pending merger with NextEra Energy. You heard Alan and Eric talk yesterday, and I think that you can see that as we seek to move towards these very aggressive and cutting-edge goals, that it is exciting to us to have a partner that has such resources and such commitment to the same vision of clean energy for America. At first, I didn't really believe why such a large company would be interested in us, as Eric said. But I've really come to believe that their corporate mission is to be the leading clean energy provider. Now, they limit that to North America, but I don't know, someday maybe it will be the world. And certainly, they're including Hawaii in their vision. So with that, again, thank you all. I really have appreciated having the opportunity to meet informally with many of you. You know, like Doug said, we hesitated last year, but when we thought of it, times have changed, and it's really incumbent on all of us to engage to provide the solutions for the future. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Connie. That was a great speech you gave us and last thoughts for the conference. So here we are, Jeannie. The last few moments of this conference. I wanted to just start by, I wanted to thank Connie Lau and HECO and NextEra for being willing to be here and listen and take part in this candid discussion, because this really truly shows your willingness and to continue to evolve as a company and to engage with the public that you serve. So we certainly appreciate your support and your sponsorship for this conference. So Jeannie and I are just here to give you the last couple minutes of our impressions of the last 2 days, and I want to say you only have about 5 minutes left to fill out this evaluation form that we very desperately need from you. So please look in your bags and fill it out and hand it to the people on your way out. Thank you so much. There was several themes that ran through the conference, and one of them I thought was we could have retitled it, actually, and it could have been named Energy, It's Complicated. Because it seemed that for every solution that was proposed by a panelist or a speaker, there appeared to be another panelist or speaker that had an offsetting problem that would have been created from that solution. So I think that's why this conference has become so valuable. You know, as Hawaii and our nation works to transform its energy destiny, this open and uncensored dialogue that we've had the last 2 days will go a long way to shifting that paradigm to, for every energy problem that arises, there will be a solution created. The dialogue must continue to evolve. I also thought that Mr. Tanabe of Hitachi, who spoke right before lunch, said it perfectly. Think globally, act locally. We heard over and over in all of the speeches and panelists that consumers want to do the right thing for a cleaner planet. But we've also heard that they have to be able to afford it. And that's why our Mayor's Office of Economic Development was a major sponsor in the Empower project. And I was so happy to hear the first results of that project yesterday as Jeannie gave them to us. That community engagement told us very clearly that consumers will support and want to support renewable energy initiatives as long as it does not exceed their ability to pay for them. So this is something we all must think about as we go forward. So I just wanted to thank you all very much on our behalf from the Mayor's Office of Economic Development for spending the last 2 days with us. We hope you enjoy your tours tomorrow. And I will turn it over now to our co-presenter, Jeannie Skog of Maui Economic Development Board. Thank you and aloha and safe travels.
Thanks, Tina, and thanks, everyone. On behalf of the Maui Economic Development Board, I do want to echo what Tina had to say in thanking Hawaiian Electric, Maui Electric, and Nextera for being here. It would not have been much of a dialogue without them, let's face it. This is a huge topic, and we really all want to move forward. And we'll all have a role to play in creating a win-win-win throughout all of the big decisions that have to be made. So thank you again for being a part of this conference. And also thank you for the many folks who came up to me after the Empower presentation to talk about how inspired you were by the results of that. A lot of comments noted how unique the process was, and I really, really appreciated that it resonated so much with all of you. I would hope, however, that we would work toward this not being so unique, that this would be instead part of our community culture to reach out this way, and that we reach 1,000 residents at a time. Believe me, it is possible. So bear that in mind as we go forward. We talked a lot about change during the conference over the last 2 days, and that change has to apply also to how we listen, how we inform, how we engage. And engage needs to be defined as enabling the customer to be part of decision-making, to be part of policy-making as well. Finally, several speakers have said, all eyes are on Hawaii, recognizing the role we are playing on the national landscape. That's pretty exciting. So as we look to 2016, we invite you to stay in touch and continue to be part of this conversation, which in many ways has just begun. Thank you very much for being here.